Last time I spoke to you with comparison of light.
그 비유를 해서 빛의 비유를 해서 말씀드렸죠, 그죠? 빛이라는 것은 이렇게
That light also has a brightness, but there's also warmth in light.
에너지가 꼭 있다는 거예요. 그러니까 밝고 따스함이 동시에 나오는데
Sometimes when you choose a birth, there's also brightness, but there's also warmth. But when we look at those heating system, here the more emphasis is on the warmth than the brightness. So wisdom and also compassion, depending on the needs. One part is more emphasis than the others, but they cannot be separated or segregated. The wish to save all sentient beings is compassion, and because of that thought, looking straight to the suffering of all sentient beings and knowing the means to serve it, it is wisdom. If you segregate the two, and if it's wisdom that doesn't have compassion, then it is just knowledge, and if it's compassion without wisdom, then it is just an attachment. None of the two is independent, so they're just like the palm and also the hand, two sides of the hand. So when we are learning Buddhism, we should know about this properly, or else you'll be staying away from the Buddha's teaching. So you have to practice both compassion and wisdom. Everything is spoken on the basis of these. So if we do not have compassion, without compassion, no enlightenment can be faced. And if you say those people who gain enlightenment without compassion, that's all a lie. Wisdom, compassion without wisdom cannot distinguish or identify the existence of all living things in the world. Then it becomes attachment, and also it becomes someone who is going through a dark path. So maybe that person will fall into or get ruined by compassion that he or her doesn't know on their own. So you should always know that there are two sides of a hand. I think by now you should give up those things that are not related to Buddhism, like praying for good luck or praying for happiness. They have no relation to removing of suffering. Only if they disappear, then your suffering will end. But keeping that in mind, or for that aspiration, you pray and you hope, and then all your prayers or your behaviors are just mere attachments.
공부를 하면 전부 다 지식에
So whether you do meditation,
불과하거나 또는 애착에 불과하거나
the reason why we say Hinayana causes problem
참선을 하건 이제 우리가 소성이 문제가 된다라는 것은 소성이 이제 법이
is because there is no root for compassion.
문제가 된다라는 것은 자비심의 발로가 없기 때문이다.
And they do not desire to become Buddha, but they remain at Ananta. That's why we say Hinayana is not enough. Here, Buddha is emphasizing on the importance of compassion. The sense of bodhisattva arises from the compassion.
그러니까 자비심이 없는 보리심이라는 것은 그건 깨지다.
When we look at the suffering of all human beings, and if there is no compassion as a root, then everything is a lie. It is not possible. By that, if you can get enlightenment, then maybe you have to burn, or maybe you have to burn all scriptures of Buddha, because compassion. If you do not have compassion, then it will be selfishness, and compassion itself means selflessness, and without selflessness, a compassion will not arise. That's why, since I repeat, whether it's Christian or whether it's Muslim, if you pray for the good of yourself or for benefit of yourself, then you're actually going further away from your enlightenment. The deeper the study goes and the prayer goes, you'll be only looking and taking care of yourself. That is not a religion, but that is an organization with a wrong thought. If a religion starts being greedy, using religion, then it becomes the worst organization of greediness. It becomes the worst form. It will be so filthy that you won't even be able to put it into the hell. Even in hell, this will become the remainings of the garbage, even in the hell. Why is this so? Because we generally accept that the greediness that we usually show in our day-to-day life is maybe for our survival, but the greediness of religion is something that starts from the center of your heart and starts your attachment. That's why it is a very dangerous thing. So a lot of scholars has also said that maybe the absence of religion in our everyday life could have been a better event for us. The religion has only complicated and also made our life more difficult. When we say we are living without greediness, that means you are throwing away your greed. But if for instance, people who are only gathered here start throwing away their greediness and also work for Yasu, then Yasu will change itself. You do not need so many people to change a place. If you just switch on a street light, even 10 people can walk by just like this. You do not need so much brightness. You need brightness because there is a darkness. What is a darkness? Darkness is the greediness in our heart. The reason why our life or our living cannot produce good efforts to or good influence to other people is because we live with so much selfishness. If you live selflessly, then maybe you will be able to brighten this world. Although I emphasize open, if you do not have the thought that you want to have the sense of compassion for the better of everyone, if you do not have the thought as a basis, then no matter what study you do, you won't be able to improve much. So without this kind of thought, you can argue that the studying or the path to Buddhism is not possible. You should always question yourself if you have a thought for others. A lot of people, they do not think of it because just like an instinct, just like it's same with animals too. If there's no benefit for you, then even animals, they do not think about it. But if there's a benefit for you, then you will follow it. So I say this kind of thing often. You should try to remove greediness. And I talk about measures to get rid of greediness, and I tell them that this is the right way to live. And if only 1,000 people gather in Yasu to listen to this kind of teaching, then Yasu will change. Nowadays, people only stick to greediness, to something. If there's something that attracts greediness, if there's something that attracts your interest, then people stick to it just like a magnet. But it is difficult for people to accept my request to throw away your greed, and it is more harder for people to act. But if I give a little award, or if a little award is given to those people, then they'll pretend to throw away their greed for some time. Like this, if someone continues their journey as a bodhisattva, then they can gain another enlightenment or another understanding. Here we say, here the enlightenment refers to brightness. Just like if you switch on light, then the darkness moves away and brightness comes. Just like this, if you continue your act, or if you continue your journey as a bodhisattva, when you say bodhisattva, it refers to those who practice those. We also call those who has not yet completed their study but also has just begun with study bodhisattva. But we also refer those who study bodhisattva and who is also aware of bodhisattva well. We also call them a bodhisattva. So if you continue your journey as a bodhisattva, then maybe there's a difference in time, but And also, also due to difference on your heart, whether you're studying it hard or not, there could be some little time difference, but eventually you will be able to achieve it. If not in this life, maybe in next life.
것은 없다. 뭐 이 생이 안 되면 다음 생이 어때고 다음 생에는 그 다음 생이라도 되고 이렇게 될 거라고
The consequence, the final saying of this title is that without the sense of bodhisattva for the happiness of others, compassion cannot arise in you. This is something that's very obvious. So, what is nirvana? Nirvana is the completion of good of others for selflessness. How can our selflessness arise? They're in ratio with the feeling of they're in ratio with the feeling of trying to reduce your greed and also your sense of selflessness. You cannot have the sense of selfishness 90% and wish for others 90%. We can only say the final number is 100. So if I reduce my greediness for 50%, then the other 50% can become your sense for others. If you do not have the sense for others, then you cannot reduce your greediness. You often misunderstand that it's possible, but it is not possible. Looking at your hand, it's either the palm or whether it's the back of the hand. It's the same thing as you cannot have two palms at the same on the same hand. The one who is sitting at the backmost, I didn't see you for many days. Where were you? I don't know why the front part is all empty. A lot of you might say, I don't help others, but I don't harm others too. And a lot of these people, they are mostly greedy. If you have the sense of volunteer or sense of helping to others, it could be 30%. And then maybe your selfishness is 70. If you add total, then it's always 100. There can be no middle way in this. Your selfishness is about 45%. If your hurt for others is about 55. There is no empty vote in here. You just have to look again at your life. Then you can also look at calculate them in a statistical way. If you're earning 1 million, and how much have you spent on you? If you have spent only about 50%, then you will have the 50% remaining. Even if you calculate in terms of money and time. Then you also know how much you can spend on helping others, and also how much you can spend on you. You can know it directly without so much difficulty. So people like swap that he spent all his money
같은 사람은 돈을 몽땅 벌어가지고 몽땅 부처님 절기는데 몽땅 다
for making a temple for Buddha, and not only he brought so many people to preach Buddhism, but
계시게 되고 거기서 25년 동안 설법을 하셨는데
with his effort, he was also able to continue protecting the temple that they built.
13세기까지 기원 정사가 있었으니까
Since the temple was built 600 years before Christ,
2000년 가까이를 갖다가 아니
the temple lasted for about 2,000 years, and it provided the platform to so many
2000년 가까이
scholars.
저기 있어 수많은 도인들이 나오게 된 근간을 갖다가
But when he built the temple, he invested everything, including the house of his own, and he requested help from other friends.
까지 팔아가 싹다 집어넣고 모자라가지고 친구한테 또그 협조를 구하고 친구 두 사람은 협조.
And Buddha has said he's going to gain Aranka in his next life.
그 다음 생에 부처님께서 수기를 그 다음 생에 아랑가를 바로 얻으리라.
It's very important the fact that you try your best all the time.
전력을 항상 다 하는 것이 굉장히 중요해요. 그래서
That's why this thing called enlightenment is not my enlightenment. If you talk about it in a little more strict way,
자체가
then although we say it is enlightenment,
좀 엄격하게 얘기하면 결론적으로 승부라는 것이 돼 있지만은도
we are talking about the completion. It is talking about the whole senses to help others. So it is not mine in the end.
것이기 때문에 사실은 내 승부가 아니라
It is actually the sense where I is missing.
그래서 나라는 것이 완벽하게 버려진 것을
Without the selflessness, it is impossible to practice six parameters.
이타심이 없이는 육바람일 같은
If you do not have the selflessness, then you cannot continue your journey as a bodhisattva, because the essence lies in this.
계율의 핵심은 이타심이에요.
And even if you practice samatha,
정진행도 중생
and through the enlightenment or through the knowledge that you have gained, you will want to help the others. That should become the basis.
이 길을 보여주겠다라는 것이 전제가 되지 않고서는
So if you do not have the compassion that you want to help others, then maybe the practice of six parameters they are all just a fake practice. Before someone told me, at the time he said Venerable Samyang, but I don't think it is Venerable Samyang, but I think it's a monk in Joseon Dynasty.
스님이라 그렇게 얘기했는데 아마 그거는 아닌 것 같고 조선시대 때 어떤 스님
The mother died early, and he got a stepmother, and the stepmother born a baby.
일찍 돌아가셨어.
And after doing the business, when the father comes back, then all the time the newborn from the new stepmother is always very fresh and doesn't have a cold and also very clean and also has a warm hand. But if he touches the older son, he's always like shivering out of cold, although he's wearing a warm clothes. The husband saw it for many times, but he just ignored it. But one day, he came home and he was dining dinner. And all the time, he saw that his first son's rice was like so much. It was already always a full bowl. So he felt the stepmother has a very warm heart. So one day the son had a stomach ache, so the father ate the rice, and in the and in the bowl, he could see that inside the bowl he put the stepmother put a little bit of bowl, the cover of the bowl inside, and put the rice on top of it, and so there was hardly like 2 spoons in there for him to eat. Look at it. Even when the husband was at home, she did this to her husband, to the son. Then what about the times that when he's not there? So also he checked the clothing of the son, and for her own son, she made the clothes made of cotton. But for the but for the but for the old son, she made him a clothes made out of reed. So it does not provide any warmth. So the father called the son. The son was about 12 years old, and the father said, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" And then the son said, "I will be satisfied if you and mother live happily. I don't have so much greediness. I don't wish too much greediness." And in that day, they went out their road to become a monk. Without compassion, you cannot bring up a son. Although you feel like you are bringing up a son with compassion, it is a different thing. Without compassion, or if your heart does not work, then the son will not grow. If you look at these communist countries, they say they will take care of their child from the country, but that is not something that is acceptable. When we say socialism, even nowadays, it seems like you're offering your children to the country. Since the nation has educated the children, they take their kids and take care of them in the way that they want. So, although they are the children of the parents, they are not able to treat them as their own children because the country has taken them. And I think even after we became one nation with North Korea, we will still have a big problem here. And also, if a monk, even after we became a monk, and if we do not have a compassion, then we will become someone who troubles everyone, or who is not beneficial to anyone. That is not Buddhism, but that is just your study for it's just a study for self. You should always watch on the suffering of all others. Just like the Heavenly King, which has 1,000 ears, 1,000 eyes. When you say 1,000, it shows or it symbolizes the numerous number, but it also means it is a lot. So you should be able to have this kind of selflessness. I'm going to repeat one more time. I'm going to repeat an instance which I was very shocked. When we are going to Sakul Cave, I felt very, very disturbed and I could not sleep in the night. There are about 50 cars in the parking lot. We also went 4 to 5 buses, and when you go to Sakura Cave, there's a corner, and in the corner there's a fat there was a fat lady who lost her consciousness.
그러니까 어떤 뚱뚱한 여자 하나가 그냥 쓰러져가지고 뒹굴고 있고 거품을 내몰고 있는데 벌써
I didn't see her on the way, so that means
밑에 있을 때 밑에서 올라올 때 앞에서 넘어진
that means she fell before we were out of the car. Then how is it possible that no one actually took care of her? No one even called for 911, but everyone just looked at her as if she's a filthy thing and they just went. I'm sure there were a lot of people, maybe her companions or also people from our own temple. Someone has lost consciousness on the road and I also I'm not aware who she is, but when I arrived there,
쓰러져 있는데
I thought it was a very dangerous situation
어딘지를 모르겠어. 내가 이제 올라와서 보니까 이게 뭐 큰일 났더라고.
because I saw people with this kind of problem a few times, so I realized how dangerous situation that was. There's a chance that she might bite her own tongue and maybe her throat gets blocked, and there is also a chance that she might be choked to death. Maybe it was because of the medication, but she was really fat, and so I couldn't move her. So I made her sit in front of me, and I gave her my handkerchief, and I tried to open her mouth so that her syllables come out. So and she was filled with soil all over her body, and also she was all sweating because she came up high.
근데 이제 내가 그렇게 하고 깨어날 때 그냥 앉아 있을 수밖에 없잖아. 그랬더니
I think it was our temple's bodhisattva. She hit me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, Venerable monk, let's go. It's unlucky." And after 2 to 3 minutes, she regained her consciousness, and I think maybe it was because she felt ashamed. She could not even look at me on my face, and so I made her sit on the way. And even if I tried to dust her because she was all sweaty, the dust were not being dusted, and although the dust that she was on her face, I asked her to wipe it off with my handkerchief, and I hold her in and I dragged her up because the Sakuram is just a few meters away, and on the way there were so many people I met, and all of them I met, they were just doing this to me. And so when you arrive there, I asked her to wash her face, and I even washed my handkerchief, and I asked her if she can come down alone, but it seemed like she didn't have energy to come down on her own, so I came down with her. And she wanted to see Buddha too because she came over far away, so I went with her. But in Sakuram, they do not even let our Buddha come open. The Buddha in Sakuram was caged in a glass, and so she was just shedding her tears looking at Buddha. And the moment I realized that we are going to see Buddha. On the way to meet Buddha, we have humiliated him the most. And I decided not to go to such pilgrimage again. Where is a Buddhist doctrine there? The same thing as it is. As if someone comes and if you ask, how is the situation nowadays? and it's same as answering, if you're hungry, eat. If you're sleepy, then go sleep. But if you're not, but look at it. If you're not able to nurse someone who is sick and who lost consciousness on the way, and where is a Buddhist doctrine, and where is compassion, and where is anything in this when someone tells me that it's unlucky to be with someone like her? This is our current status, the current status of our Korean Buddhism. If we live in accordance with our natural instinct, we can live in any way we want. We can eat a lot of delicious things. We can do a lot of things that we want. When you are eating delicious things, do you think of those people who are hungry and who cannot even eat food? A lot of those people in rich families, they would just take ramen as snacks. But those hungry people, just because they are so poor, they eat ramen as their staple food. And this thing called compassion is, if your heart for others does not rise from your heart, then nothing will work hard. There's no use. The reason why I respect Tibetan monks, I didn't know, I didn't care. I'm also heavy, so there's no worm which will survive if I step on it. The worm may have a more problem than someone who is who's been hit and run by a truck. If I step on it, then the worms will have bigger problem. No worms will survive, but think about it. If you think about it, then if you're walking on the road, when it's sunny in November to December in Dharamshala, a lot of worms, they come out because it's warm. But and I noticed that a lot of Tibetans, they were walking on the Kora with a plastic bag and also some chopstick, and when I look at it, and they were just collecting all the worms. And when I looked at it, I wonder why was he collecting all the worms. But when at the end of the Kora, he was taking out all the worms that he collected on the way he was just putting them aside on the forest, and that was for a purpose of not only him not stepping on it, but also making sure that others does not step on it too. That is Buddhist practice. If you do not have that consciousness, even if you sit for 100 years and do meditation, you will not have any thoughts more improved than your thoughts will not be anything better than rotten wooden log. So without the senselessness, it's not possible for you to practice compassion. So for us, it's the same. Without the selflessness, if you do Buddhist teaching, then you will only be praising yourself. So without these procedures, you cannot obtain absolute knowledge for attaining of Buddhahood.
유체질을
So
승진할
without compassion, and
자비심으로
you have to practice experimenters with compassion,
사람을 자비심으로
then only
수행해서 이렇게 해야
then only you'll be able to check that you have the same characteristics as Buddha, and you should aspire to become like Buddha.
확인하고 나도 그렇게
Without that, Buddhahood cannot be achieved.
그렇지 않고서는
That's why compassion is that important.
그래서 자비심이 그렇게 중요한 것입니다. 대비심을 모두 섭수하신 불세정들은 자비를 원만하게 모두 이루셨어도 끝내 유정세계 안에 머무시며 힘은 보살이라.
Whether Shakyamuni or whether it's the Lotus Buddha,
제가 보니 부처님이나 또는 연등 부처님이나
a lot of people who claim to have enlightenment but go into hiding, they are all lies because Buddha has never done that.
부처님께서 대대로 그런 적이 없어.
That's similar to a mother bearing child, and after the birth she ran away.
그냥 어머니가 자식을 낳으면
We cannot call such a person as mother.
하지 않는 것과 똑같은 꼬라지. 그걸 어머니라 그러기가 어렵다.
All Buddhas, whether it's Dipankara or
모든 부처님
even Shakyamuni has never rested for 45 years after his enlightenment.
모든 당시에 인연 있는 중생, 아마 세연 중생 또는 보변 중생, 무연 중생들까지도 전부 다
All sattvas or all living beings after their enlightenment, they have lived all their life under the influence of great compassion.
이게 이제 모든 부처님 이 자리를 원만하게
Here,
하여 모두 이루셨어도
even after his enlightenment, he never
하였어도 끝내 유정 세계 안에 모으시고
even after his enlightenment, all his acts were for the good of all beings, and he never
이뤘으니까 이제 끝났다 하고
went into hiding, or he never really went into death after his enlightenment for himself. Just like Arahant, he never even went to the final point of enlightenment. He did not rest in an area where all his agony went missing. For him, absence of his agony was not everything. He took care of all other living things, and he felt giving up this compassion or giving up his life. He thought of this as a hell in a mountain full of steel.
요 얘기 한마디로 다 끝나니까
When he saw the suffering of all sentient beings, he did not feel the
열반에 혼자 들어서
he never had the thought that if his sufferings are done, that should be enough. He thought of this thought as a hell in a mountain full of steel.
저 철이산의 지옥처럼
He cannot even give it a comparison, but
우리 이제 이건 뭐
in order to help us understand, my child who I gave birth to is about to die.
자식이 죽게 됐다 그러면
There will be no mother who will just try to avoid the son,
안 죽으려고
but
어머니는
for your own comfort. But there's no parent who will ignore
내가 헤엄을 치는
ignore the well-being of the child. But whether if he is fallen in the water and drowning, then even if the parents doesn't know how to swim, even if the mother doesn't know how to swim, she'll jump into the water.
못한다니까 어머니는 그렇단 말이야.
great compassion is something that when you are able to, when you see all sentient beings suffering, then you do not give it a thought that you do not give it a thought, oh, since all my agony is gone, I should try to rest. This kind of thought is your enemy in great compassion. Nowadays, a lot of people who believe in Buddhism, if they come to listen, they say, now I'm going to go into a village, and with my retire money, I'm going to build a house and live in peace. That does not. That is not. The words of theirs that they do not make sense. Having these kind of thoughts are bodhisattvas and Buddhas. That's why when Yuma-desa asked, when did you get disease? I got it when all people got sick. And when I'm going to feel better, I'll be fine when everyone is cured. There is no need to comment more. Since compassion is a thing that has been emphasized in so many different scriptures and also praised in so many different scriptures, there is never too much to emphasize its importance. And also, Chandragini has claimed that in the road to enlightenment, whether it's the beginning or middle or even in the final stage, the most essential thing is compassion, and he also praised it limitlessly. Even if it's a beginning stage or middle stage, or whether even if you have to attain the enlightenment, it is the essence where the compassion is the basis of it. Where compassion has been the core. Compassion is something that when you see suffering of something else or someone else, you try to solve the suffering. And also, since you and I, two people, and you also take the other person's suffering as it is on your own. And just the way when you have a fire when you have a flame on your feet, you try to kill the flame, and just like this, you try that in the same efforts to other sufferings, and this is called compassion. You understand? Whenever you think, when you look at other person and when you talk, you should always think whether it is a saying that is coming out of your mouth without filtering for your own good. But before you understand what is the actual purpose behind it, you should not say, because a lot of things that you say, it is filled with poison, and a lot of things that come out of your mouth are based on your greed, and also it causes agony for you. Even those people who go into prison, it is bad for them that they committed crime, but I don't know whether you can blame them, because I don't think there's anyone in this world who wants to live in agony and misery. Even a child knows that theft is a wrong thing, because even as a child, when you do a theft, even as a child, your blood pressure will rise. Even if you think that you do not know,
어릴 때도 모르는 것 같아도
look at it. Why do you think kids who steal, they run away? They know it is the wrong thing. That's why they run away.
근데 그걸
And think about it. Why do kids want to know that it is a bad thing?
하려고 하겠는지 생각해 보라고.
I don't think they will ever steal if they are under the condition that they don't have to steal it.
하라 그래도 안 해.
When I was consulting someone at Suncheon prison, and he has been prison for 6 times, and I asked him why he's there so often,
그때 자꾸 그러냐. 처음에 뭘 했었냐.
and the first crime he did was because he doesn't have parents and he was so hungry. No other thoughts crossed into his mind, and he thought that he should eat the bread in the bakery,
집어들고 도망쳤는데
or else he thought he was going to die, and so he just took one bread and he ate it. But unfortunately, the son of the baker was faster than him, and he got caught, and he was so severely beaten.
그게 어디 얻어먹을 때는 없지. 그러니까 하다가 이제는 숨어가고 있다가
And then
숨어가 있다가
next time, he thought about it a little more, and so he was hiding, and when the owner was not there for a short span of time, he stole and he ran away, and he did that a couple of times, and then he was caught and sent to prison. If they have something to eat, then he would not have stolen.
도둑의 방조는 돈 있는 사람들 우리가
A lot of thefts has occurred because we eat delicious things and we have a lot of money, but you do not think about sharing with them. In the way, you are also a silent observer.
이거요.
That's why when you see one thief,
그래서 사실 도둑을 한 사람 볼 때마다
you should have the understanding that due to your selfishness, you cause a thief.
검찰과 강력한 경찰과
And if you do not have this kind of thoughts, this will only lead to increase in number of prison, number of thefts, and number of prisoners. But this will not eradicate theft on its own.
그래서 이제
So whenever I argue,
나는 항상 주장할 때 제발 살펴보지 않고
I always say, without looking at the situation, do not say what you think is right without prior experiments. That can act as a knife that's stabbing the heart of the opponent. So you should learn the ways of not speaking, but trying to observe the other opponents. I feel so heavy at heart after speaking this.
이 얘기를 하고 나니까 내가 마음이 좀 무겁네. 에? 마음이 무거워.
In the beginning stage, the sense of bodhicitta arises with the compassion as a natural basis. Without the compassion, without compassion, if you say
내가 사업을 해서 돈을 몽땅 벌어가 우리나라 그냥
things like I will do huge business and I will earn a lot of money and I'll make sure that no one is hungry in this country. But if you say, looking at Joseon, I saw him in one of these elections, and there's something I respect about this person.
근데 그 양반이 미국을
He went to America in a cargo ship in order to study, but when he arrived school, he only had $50. He went barehanded.
완전 그냥 맨몸으로 간 거예요. 그 가가지고 그래서 이제 그 옆에
And he was able to go into lodgings because few of his colleagues helped him because he came from a poor country. And so when the professors asked him, what are you going to study, what's going to be your major, he had no idea. And since there were so many people who are starving to death in Korea at this time, he asked the professor, what is the major that helps people not to die of starving? And he did economics because of that. Last time when he was interviewing, he said this. With I when I was watching his interview, I thought that such people helped us improve our economy under such kind of thoughts. Look at it. After war with North Korea, a lot of people were hungry. A lot of people died, and they died due to starving and disease. And because of that, we were under great suffering. And when he saw the situation, he always felt heavy at heart because he was seeing all the suffering, and he wanted to remove the suffering, and that's why this kind of thought was inside his heart. Someone asked me, why did I organize the World Buddhist Federation? Since it is being broadcasted, I'm going to speak in a little more mild manner. I did it for the good of Yeosu people, hoping that if a lot of Buddhists come to Yeosu, then it might help Yeosu and people living in Yeosu. Without that, or if that's not going to happen, then I would have not organized it. I argued that it should happen in Yeosu, but a lot of people argued that this should happen in Seoul. And they never had this Buddhist meeting in such village, in such area, but they always had this in capital. But I argued that we should do this in Yeosu. I argued with them. But from my opinion, if we do not have in Yeosu, then there is no other reason for us to do it, or there is no reason for me to do it. I did not explain that to you clearly, and so a lot of people misunderstood, and it did not bring us any benefits, but actually it costed us a lot of money for our Seokcheon temple, and also it did not help me with my studies too. Also, for bodhisattvas to attain the final stage, it is important, or it is essential to practice 6 parameters. If you have a sense of compassion, then the ways to expand it is 6 parameters, and also 4 habits. If that happens, then compassion, the sense of compassion and bodhisattva expands. Even in the middle stage, compassion is equally important. Even after you attain enlightenment, compassion is the reason why Buddha has not stayed not attached to this world. So Buddha, the reason why, or the motivation power for Buddha, even after attaining enlightenment, for him not to stay in this unsurpassed happiness, but compassion is the reason why Buddha works for other sattvas. And
깨달음의 지복 상태에 머물지 않고 중생을 위해 일하는 원동력이 바로 자비심이다.
And as I said, compassion acts as a main power for all of Buddhist belief.
단계도 모두가 자비심
And if you say without compassion, if you think that anything could happen without compassion, then you can see that that is not totally a Buddhist belief. Without the heart for the sattvas, but if you go into the mountain and if you live for yourself, then that does not seem to be the right Buddhist belief. The most important thing for us to measure the importance of it, everything, whether it's the beginning, middle, or the final part, it lies with the compassion. Or else, how can you reduce your own greed? It is not possible. Compassion is the motivation for Buddhas to stay non-attached, and also it is a consequence of Dharmakaya, which shows his own personal achievement, and also Rupakaya, which shows his achievement for the others. When we say we have achieved Rupakaya, in Rupakaya, Dana has also been included, and Dana means, and Dana also includes Guna, which is virtues that has been accumulated over ages. And so, Buddha says, through the power of the compassion, until this empty space comes to end, he wants to devote for the benefit of all sattvas. No, there is no way that this space will come to an end. So this actually refers to unlimited or his never-ending attempts. He's going to devote his life to for the benefit of all beings. So this refers that even if everything has been achieved, the sense of bodhisattva still resides in you. Okay, so if you say, I have become rich, so I can use all my money, then that's not possible, right? And then we will add a footnote there. You will soon lose all your money. A lot of people nowadays, because they have not learned properly, they say, since I have been religious, I can drink as much as I want, or since I have been religious, I can do whatever I want. No, that kind of thing is not possible. So if you have achieved all the sense of bodhisattva and also compassion, in the end, everything has to be practiced, and also in every act of yours, the sense of compassion should be shown, or else that is a wrong thing. You cannot just end it because you have achieved it. Kamlashila, even in other theses that Kamlashila uses in Chandrakirtis, this title, the legitimacy of this title has been backed up, and also in here, and also this title called compassion gains a lot of persuasive power.
어른이 까밀라 신라 이 말씀뿐만 아니라 보리신 보살 이런 분들이
So it shows the importance of the compassion, and also the fact that it has been proved a lot of times. But
경전의 그 자체만으로
normally in Buddhist tradition, no particular philosophical idea gets proven just by the authority of a particular scripture. In fact, if each individual desires to have trust, and also trust in the philosophical idea, then basically they should rely on the rationality and also intellect. This is the characteristics of Buddhism. Here we are talking about the rationality here. When you are talking about rationality, if you say in a very basic way,
콩을 심었으니까 인명론에 맞지 않는 것을
when you're talking about the biological rationality, then can you say when you have planted beans, can a red bean be grown? That's why if you say if the bean and the red bean is the same one, does it make sense? You know that it doesn't make sense. If I have not done any virtuous deed, but if I didn't do any virtuous deed, is it possible for you to become rich? Is it possible? But then why are you praying for virtue? Is it possible or not? This person is very good at fighting, so if he goes around hitting others, then and so a lot of others respected him and he lived happily ever after. Is it possible? Just because if he's good in fighting, if he goes around beating everyone, what do you think? A lot of people who wants to take revenge when he gets old will be. He wants to take revenge when he gets old. What if when he becomes 72 and someone who just turned 34 when he was beaten when he was young comes and takes revenge? Do you think? What do you think? In Buddhism, when you talk about rationality, everything has a cause and a condition and has a consequence. In Buddhism, we do not accept anything that cannot be proven in this scientific way. That's why we say, I will not bear any consequence for the cause that I have not done. So if I have not done any virtuous deed, I would not be having any virtue. And if I have done so much virtue, then all the good virtues will come back to me. But if you have not done any good virtues, then there's no virtue for you to receive. So you should always respect rationality and also intellect. So even the act of attaining enlightenment, you cannot gain enlightenment in this way or even that way. You should figure out what is the cause of the enlightenment. And also you should make the condition for the enlightenment. Then you will have the enlightenment as the cause or as a result. we try to gain enlightenment, or we claim to get enlightenment without the cause and without the condition, but you will just have the result. And this is the ridiculous thought. The objects of intellect can be classified into phenomena that has been shown broadly, and also a phenomenon that has been partly hidden, and also a phenomenon that has been completely hidden. There is no need to prove a phenomenon that exists for sure. You can experience and understand them, but you cannot track them. Those phenomena that has been partly hidden, since they cannot be experienced, you need to apply a logical idea. At this time, the object of your analysis can be acknowledge your experience based on the inference. The acknowledgement based on your inference, in order to achieve that, you need different stages of logical formula. Logic, and also those people who are in the beginning stage, they cannot understand the phenomenon that's completely hidden through scientific analysis or also inference. That's why it's impossible to prove them through only with our experience, and at this time we rely on scripture that we can trust. When you say she has become a grandmother, we know it's a fact. How old are you? Are you 73? So why did she become a grandmother? It's also the age, but also because her grandson has called her a grandmother. We know that even without any evidence. Is it shown that our hair is black? When you say our hair is black, is it correct? Tell me clearly. Is it correct to say our hair is black? I'm not talking about the gray hair, but the thing that we see as black, is it black? Here, if we're trying, like leaving out the things that's hidden, if we say our hair is black, the black hair is just something that's shown on the surface. I'll prove that our hair is not black. First, even in the night, is it black? Tell me, when there is no light, is our hair black? Oh, then our answer is already wrong. How much is 1 plus 1? Is it correct to say 3? Is it correct to say 1? Just like that. We said our hair is black. And we cannot have 2 to 3 answers, right? You answered it's black. But when you see it in the dark night, what color is it? You do not know. Now we have 2 answers. Is it correct or not? Is it correct to say it's black? Can we have 2 answers? Then I'm going to ask again. Is your hair black, or what color is it? Is it the hair that's black? Without the light, you cannot see the color black. Is the light black? Is the hair black or the light black? Then what did you say the hair is black?
검정색이라는
The
것은
thought that we say your hair is black doesn't mean your hair itself is black, but when the light is reflected, every other color is hidden, but it's only the black color that has been reflected.
반응하는 물질이 거기 있어.
So now let's see, is it the atom that reflects the light black, or is it your hair is black?
또 바로 요것은 우리가 실제 보는 것하고 그 안에
Here we can know that something that exists and the fact that we know is different. So the hair is not black, but when the light gets reflected, in our head there is an atom that reflects the black light. That we know. We cannot check it with our eyes, but we can infer it.
추론으로 가능하죠, 그죠?
If we sit here and say, "Oh, I can smell oil that's coming from Ansan beach," last time we had it.
저번에 맞죠?
Last time when I was coming out from Hunguk Temple, I said, "Oh, I smell oil. I wonder if the oil tank has bursted." I know it from my experience and also from my senses.
경험에 의해서 안단 말이지. 그러면 이제 그죠 기름 탱크가 터졌나 보네.
I know it because of my inference.
그건 이제 추론에 의해서 아는 거란 말이야.
Oh, I can see a smoke coming out from across the mountain. Even if I do not see the fire, I can make out from the smoke that there is a fire. So seeing and knowing
그걸 우리가 직접 보고
or inferring through rational ideas,
추론을
we have two different ways,
방식이 있다. 불교는
and
직접 보고 아는 것과 추론을 가지고 아는 거.
and
다음에
and those facts which are completely hidden, like sometimes you do not even see the flame or the smoke.
요즘에는 이제 밥을 해 먹을 때
Nowadays, when you cook food in the war better, if you have smokes coming out, then you know that you will be found by other enemies. That's why nowadays people only eat what's already been cooked and already been there stored for you.
연기가 제일 안 나게 하려고 그래.
But in olden times, when is it possible? When is it a time when it's okay when you can make the fire? It's in the night, right? Because it's dark.
보이죠? 낮에는 할 때 몰라요. 쌀이나무 있잖아요. 쌀이나무 끝에 가느다랗게 난 빗자루 그 끝처럼 된 거 요걸 싹 꺾어가지고
And so they used a type of tree. Like if you put a fire on the tree, then there's no smoke, but it only causes a flame. And so the enemies could not know that they were there and cooking because there was no smoke coming out. This is something that is completely hidden. You cannot infer and you cannot see. But the way to see those things which are completely hidden is the easiest way is to listen or to depend on a scholar who already know about it and who has already experienced it. So things which are shown outright, we can know it by seeing them. But the other one is through your logical inference. Just like doctors, under this kind of symptoms, doctors know that should be the disease you're suffering from. And those things which are completely hidden, they cannot find it. You can know it by listening to those who has attained that particular age or particular stage.
께서 말씀하시는 때 핵심적인 가장 중요한 것은 공생이란다.
And this, in Buddha said, is the void. Before, everyone thought there is something that exists, but after Buddha has gained enlightenment, he proved that there is nothing. It's only the voidness. Everything is just a collection of all the conditions that is caused from your relation and also your cause. First, there should be teaching from a scripture that is that is trustworthy and also has authority, and also it has to be proved by a teaching of a teacher who is valid and also trustworthy. The authority of the scripture should be concrete. It should not violate the phenomenon that is for certain through our direct acknowledgement, and also the phenomenon that is partly hidden through inference, and also our also the faith, which also the phenomenon that is based on our faith. All these phenomena, even if we have double or triple analysis of the phenomena, it should not be shaken. When you say this is very important, if you look at it, then no matter which way ever you look at it, this is very important. It has to be cross-checked and it should be correct. And also, the authority of the scripture, the validity is always validity of it should always be proven through our rational idea. If your idea is incorrect as per the Buddha's ideology or as with the Buddha's analysis, but if you persist with it, then it is wrong. There are a lot of things which we just pursue with our own thoughts. It's 12:12 right now. Okay, let's end. I didn't talk to you. I believe I didn't talk to you about the date when Intellect is coming. I think I spoke it on the first day of the lunar calendar of this month. Intellect said he's going to cancel his previous schedule of going to France, and he will come here. At 10 o'clock, we'll pray and we'll make offering, and there'll be about 5 months coming together with Gutella. And he will pray for about an hour, and he will give us a small teaching. And while we watch the later Buddha, Gutella will also give us blessing, the Nechun Gutella. I'm not sure if this will happen, but you know, the Buddha that we hang in the cars, under the thought or under the prayer that you will drive a little slow, and also with the hope that there will be less accidents, I'm hoping to make this little Buddha for your car. So after you do the Buddha's shower with the little Buddha statue, and on the way I hope to pass it to you. And those who has and after that you can also eat your lunch. And after lunch, we will have to we got this lyric from China, and there is a part where of your the second finger. And if I tell you how we happen to receive it, like you remember 20의 20의
기공사 이봉의 보살님이
um,
하셨죠. 그래서 그분의 스승은
20의 사투와 and her teacher
장생보라고 하는 선생님.
장공이, since they tried to catch him and kill him, he went to America, and in America he was killed under the name of a car accident, and he had thousands of students.
그렇게 이제 됐는데 이분은
But this person was not caught and ran away and is still safe. And the funny thing about China is if you wash your identity, then they don't know. You can claim that you are dead already.
치료를 하게 됐는데 낳게
And also,
이름을 밝힐 수 있는 실력.
there's someone that I cannot name you, which will be a problem. This person is also very talented, and during the time when they had this cultural revolution, when they destroyed all the tombs, when they destroyed all the monuments, this lyrics was out, and they collected it. And also, this lyrics is not in the shape of a round ball, but you can actually see that it's a bone. So after your lunch, you can take a round, and you can see it. That's what I think as of now. After that, maybe after 4, we will have a little competition for the children, and we will also give them awards. That's how I'm going to program that day, on the day of the Buddha's birthday. In the afternoon, since everyone goes to their respective monasteries which they belong to, I'm not thinking of having maybe 2 or 3 days to meet Nechun Kutela, but I'm going to have 1 day. So all these people who are living nearby Suncheon or Gwangyang, I hope they can also come and see Nechun Kutela and also the lyric on that day.
불교예술제를 하는데 시에서 한 1,300점 지원이 있고 좀 더 많으면 좋은데 그렇게 되지 않아서 자그마하게라도 꼭 이제 이걸 이어서 내년도 정도에는
About the arts, I wasn't able to get so much budget for this, but so next year I'm going to try a little more. But this year, although the budget is a little less, on 25th,
25일 날 그날 무슨 요일인가? 응?
what day is it? Friday. On Friday at 7 o'clock,
그래서 그날
there is some singers coming, and there is some artists.
가수들도 오고
They will come and sing a few songs,
그래 왔으니
and they will also sing a Buddhist song.
또 가요 가운데 불교 가요 한 곡씩 하고 또 그 찬불가를 한 2곡씩 좀 하라 그랬어. 우리 찬불가 아니고
And also, I asked them to sing a couple of Buddhist hymns so that we can listen. And for about 1.5 hour, we are going to have the concert in the Yasu Hall.
갈 생각입니다. 꼭 그렇게 생각하시고
Next time when you come, I'll give you a little invitation and also the information.
뭐냐면 그 안내장 띄울 때
So all of you should bring it. If you bring it, I'll make a little like
품을 불러.
lottery out of it.
자동차인데.
Maybe a car, not the toy car.
그저 장난감 자동차 말고.
So that day all of you could attend, and let's try not to make the area too vacant.
않게끔 그렇게 좀 해주시면 고맙겠습니다.
And also in Gwangyang, Venerable Pamil,
강양의 범일스님 여기 절이 그 희한하게 뒤에 이게 탑이
this is a cultural heritage of Jeollanam-do. This was built in time of Goryeo Dynasty.
탑이에요. 그 앞에 대웅전을 갖다 지어서 이제 낙승식을
On 12th, they're going to have a ceremony. So maybe we'll rent a car or two and we'll go together. So those who wants to go, maybe you could write your names in the office.
부대를 해야 될지 한다 해야 될지 모르니까 그렇게 좀
I think it's fine if we start in front of the hall about 10:40,
40분쯤 스탑합시다. 그러면
9:40, not 10:40.
뭐 10시 조금 넘어서 도착하니까 아니 9시 40분 10시 40분쯤
Those who wishes to go, please call the office and write your names.
인연 체크를 좀 하십시오.
I'm going to end here.